Welcome back to Steve's Project Car Garage. My name is Steve. Sitting behind me is the Spitfire. Look at that. How much work I've done. Went ahead and I got the rear quarter panel put back on. I went ahead and I put the sill on. No, I'm just kidding. I wish I didn't. But I'm just test fitting a couple of things today, and I'm actually going to start working on the back rear wing a little bit. Got to get some metal taken care of, and I'm going to run a couple things by you. So stick around. It'll be a good video. All right, so I kind of went radio silent there for a couple of days because I really kind of spooked myself out with this section of the car. The last video I went ahead and I welded this in. You saw how that process went pretty well. But then I went ahead and decided I was going to try to test fit this sill. I got this sill off of one of the guys from a forum, Triumph Experience, and I kind of spooked myself out a little bit because with just the sill, it didn't line up well at all. In fact, the lines were all kind of messed up, and well, I got freaked out that I had messed things up. So I went ahead and I went up to the attic and I pulled down the fender, pulled down the door, and just kind of test fit things just to kind of see how things are. And I feel a little bit better because, well, it does kind of line up. So it's actually not as bad as I thought it was. But I'm going to show you what I do have some concern on. Maybe you can give me some advice. So as you saw in some of the past videos, this has been, my next area of work. This lower A-post section is just completely rusted. And at one point or another, someone kind of cut out the damage and then put in a panel. So my big area of concern is that this is drooped a little bit. And so I think that when I put in my replacement panel, you're going to see it's actually about a ½ inch taller than what's in here now currently. And I legitimately think that this entire section has kind of drooped a little bit, kind of like that. Which leads to funky things like really, really tight gaps here, like tight tolerances. And not a whole lot of movement in this area. So what I'm going to try to do today is just test fit some panels, get an idea where I'm at, and then depending upon how much time I have, I'm going to come in and start working on this section here, which is kind of damaged. So I think what I'm going to do is cut this out and then put in some new metal. So that's kind of my plan for today. Today is actually Monday. I'm supposed to be working, but I have a meeting I got to deliver at 8 p.m., so I'm taking a 4-hour lunch. So it gives me a couple of hours to come out here and play. Let's get cracking. Let's test fit some of these panels, kind of throw some clamps on it to see where it's at, and go from there. Okay, so you can see here that the gap is actually pretty much right where it's supposed to be for the panel. The door is right up against, so obviously there's going to be some adjustments with the door that will need to be made. Now this panel that I'm using is honestly a piece of crap. It's going to take a lot of work to try to get this to fit correctly. You can see here, obviously, there's a massive gap here. That's going to take some fiddling. I should not be able to stick a full finger through there. And you can see here that this does not fit that well. I think what's going to end up happening is I'll end up having to tack weld this up here first, and then I'll have to try to shape the metal and bend it to get it to conform a little bit more. So that way it does come down and this sits flat. But I mean, all in all, it's not bad for just a quick dry test fit. That kind of tells me that I haven't screwed this thing up too much. I mean, there's always a possibility, but I don't think it's that bad. I'm gonna try to just move this door, see if I can just adjust it, just a hair, see if there is any movement that's available in it, and then we'll kind of go from there. So one thing I realized is that I'm not actually gonna be able to move the door that much this way, because if you look up here, this is pretty much hitting, right? So again, this kind of plays into my theory that the whole A-pillar or post had kind of sagged sort of like that. So what I would love is some feedback from you guys, because when this repair had happened previously down below, do you think that the A-pillar did kind of sag a little bit like that? And if so, do you suppose that putting in that new lower A-post piece that I've got, and then putting in a new floor and lining it up will help kind of push it up? And I guess my second question is that if I do that, should I do both sides simultaneously, so that way I'm not fighting what's holding the passenger side? Because the passenger side is the exact same. I'll show you. The passenger side is just as rotten. And I guarantee there has to have been some kind of sag that happened over the years here. So, I don't know. Give me your thoughts. I would love to know what you guys think. If you look inside here though, you can definitely tell that panel does not work so well. And it'll have to get adjusted without a doubt. And I'm sure I have to work very hard to do that. But you can also tell that the floor seems to have kind of dropped a little bit here, because it's certainly moving in the wrong direction. But when I pull the floor out, that should all be a thing of the past, hopefully. Okay, so this back area is where I wanna focus on today while I get the time off from work, and while I ponder over what I'm gonna do about the front. So I'm gonna see if I can remove this. Okay, so with that removed, I really want to focus specifically on this here. Now, I have a couple of ways that I'm thinking about approaching this. Obviously, my thought is that it comes down and it's supposed to go down and kind of like this. I wish I could draw on a whiteboard for you, but that's kind of what I'm thinking it does. I've got rust up here that I have to try to cut out. And then I want to try to make a piece that maybe comes down and just fills in this section. And then I want to come right across here and cut that out. And that way I can avoid having to deal with any of these complex bends and support pieces, because this is all pretty good. So cut this out. I should actually be able to just split this, frankly, with my chisel. So we'll make cut, go right across here, and then small cut up here, and hopefully 2 patches. So let's take a look and see what we can separate with the chisel first, and then we'll bust up the cutter. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna clean up some of this with the grinder. There was a couple of big booger welds on the backside here that you really can't see. Just kind of what stuck this bit up a little bit. So I'm gonna try to cut across here, and then I'll go ahead and just clean up what's remaining. Hit this with the flap disc, and then we'll start making a panel. I'm pretty sure I got my money's worth out of this blade. All right, here we go. So got this cut out, got the metal smoothed back, and I gotta get some of this gummy stuff. There's a bunch of gummy stuff here, which is like panel, sealer or something like that. I have to get that out of there. That'll be interesting to see how I can pull that off. But I think I'm pretty much ready. I just gotta actually clean up the burrs real quick along that edge, and then come on the back side, clean it up, then we'll go ahead and make it back. All right, I'm back. So here's what I've done. I got it all cleaned up, and I used some of these panel clamps to go ahead and just put on this great big chunk of metal. And what I'm gonna actually do is attach the wing, and I'm gonna use the wing as a guide to trace out the line. So that way I know what to cut, because on the back side, it all kind of disappears and doesn't really exist. So this is gonna be what I'm gonna use for my template. So let's hope it works. Cool. Well, sweet. That actually worked out quite well. I'm kind of happy. I was originally just going to trace it out, but I said, well, you know what? It's here. It's holding in place. Let's cut it. And yeah, sweet. So we can go ahead and weld that in. All right, well, that's going to be a wrap for today. I've actually looked at the time, and I got to get back to work here pretty soon. But I figured first what I'll show you is what I did with this. I got my patch panel made up, and I got it held in with those clamps. And so what I'm gonna do is next time I come on out, I'm gonna weld this on in real quick. Cut a couple of holes in here for some plug welds, and then I'm gonna make another little patch here to kind of come down and join in here. I may end up taking out some of this metal here because there's a hole there and some holes there, so I may just cut this out altogether and then kind of come up with something there, a little patch. But that's going to be it for this side. And then what I need to work on next is actually going to be right over here. I need to work on the wheel well and the wheel arch. I do have the original panel well, not the original, but the original patch panel from the last guy that I was able to pretty much salvage. So I need to clean this metal up and then go ahead and weld that into place. And then I'll pretty much be looking pretty decent on this side, and then I'll have to rinse, wash, and repeat on the other side. It's, more than an afternoon's worth of work, which is great. So back to the A-post dilemma. Give me some feedback, guys. Let me know what you would do. I'm really curious to see what you think how to do. If I should just go ahead and say screw it and put it in the panel and hope that when I put it in, everything lines up and it helps correct the lean, or if you have a different approach. I'm really kind of at a loss. I'm just kind of at a point where I'm just like, yeah, well, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and put the panel in and let it rip and see what happens. Because honestly, I don't have anything good to reference on either side because of it being a botched repair before. So Anyways, if you haven't done so already, please make sure that you go ahead and hit that like button, hit the subscribe, and let me know that you guys like the content. Please definitely leave some comments in the section below, and I look forward to hearing from you. So until next time, remember, don't be the dreaded previous owner. Cheers.